Hey folks, Jonathan here. We got Noah tearing an engine apart. We're just about ready to pull the heads. This one's ready to pull. We're going to get it off and then we'll check the other one and go from there. We're going to pull the generator off too now.
Yeah.
Alright, driver's side heads off. I don't see any major issues. I don't see any ring ridge. The head looks good. Got some big valves in it, intake and exhaust. Looks like probably 2-inch intake. And maybe 190. No, they ain't that big. I guess 180 maybe exhaust. I'll check them. But none of them beat down in the head. Of course, you know, I doubt it was run with unleaded fuel started. I don't think it was run a lot anyway. But everything looks good. And I think we just, you know, compression issues all it is. So we get the pan off, get the pistons out, we'll know a whole lot more. As soon as we get the other head off, that'll be, this number 4 was the one that was 30 psi. I didn't check the ones on this side. Really wasn't no use because we're going to have to come down anyway. So we will get this head off and look at it and see what it looks like, and then we'll, next we'll be getting the pan off and getting the pistons out. Alright, getting ready to get dark on us. We've got it apart. We're going to get everything dried up here and get some PB blaster in it. We'll get the top of one of these pistons cleaned off. I started on this one, but I need to get it cleaned off so I can see what it make sure it's standard. I don't see any ring ridge or any issues whatsoever. I think we're going to be fine. We'll just have to hone this thing out. And a new set of rings, and you know, I will check the ring end gaps and stuff and make sure the bore's right and it's not, you know, egg shaped or not hourglass shaped. But I'm hoping and thinking we're going to be fine on this. Anyway, let me see if I can clean the top one of the pistons off. Okay, don't see anything on the top of the pistons, so I'm going to assume at this point that these are standard, and don't hold me to that because you never know. But anyway, got it, all the water wiped down, and I got PV blaster sprayed in it, and I think probably tomorrow we will pull the pan and pull the start pulling the pistons out. I hope Noah remembers how all this goes back together. You remember it, Noah?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm going to leave when you go to put it back together.
Alright.
Alright, anyway, I'll show you more as we go. We're going to have to pull the starter off, and I hope we can get the steering to clear. We may have to drop some of the steering to get that pan off, but it's alright. Cross member's way up here in the front, so I think we'll be okay. And we will be pulling the timing chain cover, putting the new front seal, probably a timing chain and new gaskets and everything in it. We'll get the shop back out here and get all this stuff cleaned up. This has got an air gap style intake from the factory, so we'll get all the trash that's above it cleaned out. So I think we're going to be okay on this one. So far so good, and so we'll just re-ring it and hone it, do the head or the heads, and we'll stick it back together. Alright, another thing too, copper head gaskets. Now we're not going to reuse them. If this would have been a tractor, I would have, but in this car I'm not going to reuse the gaskets. We're going to buy a whole gasket set anyway, so we can replace, you know, everything where it's leaking, oil pan, all that good stuff. So anyway, back on it tomorrow. Okay folks, up under it, as you can see, it looks like the starter's been rebuilt. It's cleaned and painted. Someone's put a ground on it, so that tells me that they were having the same issue, and I'm assuming it was probably Roy, the fellow I bought this from. You know, he couldn't get it to spin fast enough, and he even mentioned that it was probably going to be pulled off because he wasn't able to get it started. So I would say, I don't know what we're going to do. Once we get this thing together and it has good compression, it may fire right up, but then again it may not. So I may end up ordering the gear reduction starter for it. It's not cheap, but you know, it might have to be done. Underside of this car is not really too bad. As you can see, there's a big rust hole, but you can see the cross member coming out, for the floor's in good shape. It looks like where water got in again, of course. And then the rear floorboards, these are actually up here under this is under the front seat. They're really good. Now this one's got the heater like the other one would have had, I guess, the under the seat heat. And then when you get to the back floorboards, the center hump's good. It's all, you know, nice and painted. But then if you get to here, you can see that the lower section, that's where your feet would go in the back floor. It's got some rot, got quite a bit on this one. But what that tells me is from the looks of this, is you can see it's still got paint on it. You know that this thing wasn't rusted like a car up north would be from the bottom up. This was rusted from the inside down. And if not, all this paint wouldn't even be here. This would all be missing. So it comes right back to what the other one had the issue with. It got rained in it, and it probably had carpet in it. The carpet soaked everything up, and it stayed moist and just rusted through. But under the back seat, we're fine. Back there, the trunk was good, so evidently it didn't get water in it. So pretty straightforward, easy job on this on the floor repairs when we get ready to do that. As you can see, there's a new brake line. So all the brakes has been done on this. This thing actually, you know, the brakes work good, stops good. Stops good when I'm pulling it down the driveway anyway. It's not got good pedal. I don't know if it's going to pull or not, but, you know, left or right. But looks like maybe someone had the transmission out. Not real recent, but, you know, more recent. Maybe they put a clutch in it or something like that. And of course, this has got the overdrive. I think, I'm not positive, but, you know, this is a different overdrive than the other one, I believe. I believe they made a big and a small, and I think this is the bigger one. The other one's the smaller one. Got some duct work there. So that's going into the heat. Now I know why them extra hoses was down there. So there's actually another heater in the dasher. There's two heater hoses going in. The issue I see here, I don't think we're going to be able to get the pan all the way down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the starter off, unbolt the pan, of course drain it first, and then take the motor mounts loose. I've got it hooked to the wrecker with the wheel lift. I can stretch the boom out over, and I'm just going to pick the engine up far enough to get it off. There's plenty of room up at the back of the firewall where it's not going to hit, and then we got our mount all the way back here. So that'll flex enough, of course, to let us pick up and get the pan out of there. And that's one good thing about having it on the wheel lift and having the wrecker above it. Don't see any other issues. You know, there's absolutely no frame rust on this thing. Just like the other one, that most everything was done from the inside rust-wise. So frame's good and solid. It's actually pretty clean. And you know, for a car this old, especially, you know, I'm from West Virginia, so I've seen some rusty cars. I know how it is. So, all right, let's see if we can get this drain, get the pan off. We'll go from there. Okay, folks, we got the pan off, and we just picked the engine up a little bit in the front and pulled it out, and everything looks good so far underneath. Of course, we're going to take the pickup off and clean it all out really well. You can see the greasy looking oil. That's probably from sitting, but you know, the oil, I'm assuming, has been changed in this thing pretty well, because you know, there's no gunk up inside of it. And let me see, I see a double roller timing chain up there. Yeah, it actually feels pretty tight. Don't feel real loose. But anyway, the rods are marked. I see that already. You can barely see the 3 and 3 on that one. 1 on the first one, so I think we're okay. So we're going to pull out number 4 first, because I know that was the one that was reading 30 psi, and that's going to tell us a whole lot. So I think we'll know something here shortly. All right. Okay, number 4 is out, and as you can see, the rings are not stuck. But, well, they're not stuck on that side, but they are stuck on this side. We got a busted piston. Evidently something got on top of this piston and bent it down and cracked it. I don't know if you can see the cracks, but that's why the rings are stuck right there. And you can see the top of the piston is just down just a little bit. So anyway, we figured out the problem, and luckily I know where there's some used pistons that are in good shape. These are standard. We'll clean them just to make sure and go ahead and measure them. But I can't take the ring off this one to check a ring-in gap in the cylinder, so we're going to pull another out and go from there. We're going to go ahead and pull them all out just to check, because you know, when you buy a set of rings, you got to buy the whole set anyway. So we're going to put all new rings in it. But there's our culprit for number 4. All right. Now we pulled the next one back, number 6. And if you remember right, we was having compression issues with it too. It's got the same problem. It's dented at the top right here. I'm hoping you can see this. Trying to get out of the sun. And it smashed the rings. And I don't see any cracks in this one. It's not nearly as bad, but it's bad enough that the rings are stuck in. Okay, it would have hit something down here, and that's all still carbon. Almost like it didn't hit anything. I'm really confused on this one. But about the time you think you've seen everything, when it comes to an old engine, it's going to prove you wrong. Because this is definitely a new one on me. Let me see if I can clean the top of it up. I hope you can see this in the light. But there's a little bit of marks and discoloration right here. It's almost like somebody dropped the piston and dented it, but it's smooth there where it's not smooth everywhere else. So I don't know. Okay, we got number 2 out. So we got 2, 4, and 6 out, but number 2, there's no denting whatsoever. The rings are stuck just from sitting. So this one will clean up fine. I don't see any issues, but they are, the rings are stuck. So I'd rather see stuck rings than messed up piston. So we can definitely work with this one. So we're still hovering at 2 pistons. All right. No, is that you up there?
Yeah.
All I see is a bright light. Am I alive?
Yeah.
I can't even, there you go. The sun's shining down on me. All right, we got Noah up there spitting down at me.
No.
All right, no, it better not be. I'm really impressed with the crankshaft. Bearings look great. Don't see any other issues. We ended up with 2 pistons that had dents on them, and we had 2 pistons that the rings were not stuck on. And the rest of the pistons had at least 1 ring stuck. And so I'm going to go and get 2 pistons on the way, a set of rings and a set of gaskets. And probably a timing chain. And I don't know whether I can get the gears. I know that sounds bad, but they sell the timing chain separate. But again, we're just repairing, we're not restoring. And I know I'm going to get 100 people or more want to know why I didn't just pull this engine out. And I thought about that a little while, and the best thing I could come up with is because I didn't want to. So I guess if that's not a good enough answer, then you have to guess at one on your own. So anyway, so I'm just laying here in the cool weather looking up, and Noah's up there in the heat, sweating to death. So it's nice down here. So I did turn out to be on the lucky end of the deal. But anyway, I'll show you a couple of them pistons again. We're going to take one of the old rings off of one of the pistons that's not stuck and stick them down in the cylinder wall. We'll probably just stick them down on number 4 because we knew that was a low one, and just see what the ring end gap is. And like I said, it'll be a used piston, so I'm sure it's not going to be, or a used ring, so I'm sure it's not going to be with, the greatest ring end gap test in the world, but we're going to just get an idea. All right. I don't know how well we'll be able to see over here, but what I want you to do is take this one ring, and I want to put it in the next one. Yeah, that one. And put it in there even, and then shove it down below where the ring end gap would normally be. I mean the lip would normally be, the ridge. There you go, snake it in there. Now just push it down until it's straight, about an inch all the way around from the top. There you go, down a little bit low. And just try to get it as straight as you can get it up and down. So it don't look egg-shaped. Does it look good? Alright, now let's look at the ring end gap on it. Yeah, not terrible. If I was a guessing man, I'd say 20 thousandths. And that's about an inch down. We shove it on down one. You can check it midways and then check it toward the bottom, and that'll tell you whether you got an egg-shaped cylinder. And it looks the same to me. But we'll check it with, we'll check it better, but we'll also check it with a new ring when it comes. But we're not going to worry about anything other than honing these cylinders, because I don't think there's an issue. I really just think that it's set for a really long time and the ring's stuck, and I still don't know what happened to these two pistons, but you can see a little knock on them. We'll clean them up and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, cleaned them up and checked them. No numbers, so they are standard. I measured them, they're standard. Pistons do not look really bad, unfortunately. They've still got the line, the machine, well, not machine, I guess it was machining lines in them. It's kind of hard to see, but running across. So they wasn't wore out. There wasn't, you know, there wasn't even any skirt wear on them. But like I said, they're not any good, because if you look at the top of this one, you'll see a lot of dings. And if you look at the top of this one, you'll see a few dings. But the problem is them dings, and there's a bunch on this side, little ones. Something bent that piston and caused these rings to stick, and I don't know what it was. I'm not going to worry about it. All I know is we need two pistons and a set of rings and gaskets, and I think we'll be good to go. This is the better one right here, but it's kind of hard to see, but it is dented enough that the rings are jammed in there, and there's a lot of dings on the top and on the bottom, so I don't know. Something I can't, you know, imagine what happened. I mean, something could have got in it. Not sure what it was, but this one here hit so hard and smashed that it actually cracked the piston. So anyway, I'll quit boring you with pistons, but okay folks, I've ordered a gasket set of rings and two pistons, and I haven't ordered a timing chain yet, but we'll try to order it too. And we're going to go ahead, and I guess the last thing we need to do is get the timing chain cover and the pulley off the front, and we'll go ahead and get everything cleaned up, get a shop back out here, and get it ready to start putting back together. And all the bearings look really good. I'm really tickled with that, and should turn out just fine. I don't see any issues whatsoever. We'll regrind the valves if we need to. We'll, you know, whatever we need to do, we'll get the heads right, and I'll show you the process. And if anybody has any questions about, you know, wanting to see something in particular, let us know, because you know, I may skip stuff, and if somebody wants to learn or wants to see a part, I would rather show it. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.